Assalamu alaikum. I come to you today deeply humbled and honored by this invitation. I truly mean that. I applaud your courage for inviting an evangelical pastor. Thank you. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Actually, every weekend I speak to a group about this size, and I get little cards after each service, and people tell me things about what I've just taught on. And one of them I got just recently said, "Pastor Rick, your words are like water to a drowning man." Okay. Another one was, a lady wrote, she said, "Pastor Rick, every time you teach, I think it's never going to get any better." And last weekend, a little boy wrote me a note and said, "Pastor Rick, this weekend you were really full of it." So I'm used to good comments like that. I come to you today with a spirit of love and a spirit of friendship, a spirit of deep respect. I love my dear, dear Muslim friends, my next door neighbor, and so many that are friends, and I love you. Now, dear friends, as globalization draws us closer and closer together, one of the most pressing questions we have to ask ourselves is, how do we deal with our deepest differences? It is a fundamental question we have to wrestle with. How do we live together in peace and harmony? And not only that, how can we actually work together, maintaining our separate traditions, maintaining our convictions without compromise, but working together for the greater good of everybody in the world? Secularists, those who don't believe in God, don't understand really how deeply your identity, my identity, and other people of faith, how our identity is tied to what we believe. They just don't get it. Now, of course, you understand that. You know that, obviously, as an evangelical pastor, my deepest faith is in Jesus Christ. But you also need to know that I am committed not just to what I call the good news, but I am committed to the common good. And as the scripture says, love your neighbor as yourself. I am commanded to love, and I am commanded to respect everybody. Everybody. Now, I was asked to speak to you about how can Muslims and Christians work closer together for the greater good in our world. And I will tell you that I'm not interested in interfaith dialogue. I am interested in interfaith projects. There's a big difference. Talk is very cheap. And you can talk and talk and talk and never get anything done. Love is something you do. It's something that we do together. Love is a verb. Now, as the two largest faiths on this planet, Muslims and Christians, we must lead in this. We must lead. With over 1 billion Muslims and over 2 billion Christians, together as half the world, we have to do something about modeling what it means to live in peace, to live in harmony. And there are a lot of things that we could do together, but I would tonight just quickly like to mention 4 things that I reach my hand out to you and say, can we work together on these things together? And I believe we can. I know we can. The first thing we have to do is that I call on all Muslims and I call on all Christians together to model what it means to respect the dignity of every person. The tensions that we see in our world, and we see these tensions all around us, friends, dear friends, they are not going to be solved by mere tolerance. Tolerance is not enough. People don't want to be tolerated. They want to be respected. They want to be treated with dignity. They want to be listened to. They want to be valued. And as the Holy Scriptures tells us, since we are created in the image of God, each person has intrinsic value and dignity. We may disagree over beliefs. We may disagree over behavior. But we are called and we are commanded to treat each other with dignity and respect. Now let me get real practical about this. That means that we need to join together, and I call on you, members of ISNA, we need to join together to create some kind of coalition to end stereotyping. From talking to my Muslim friends, I know that without a doubt you have experienced the sting and stupidity of stereotyping, as I have as an evangelical. And since today much of the press is actually clueless as to what you believe and as to what I believe, then there are frequent mischaracterizations in the media, frequent ignorant generalizations. Generalizations are generally wrong, and frequent stereotyping of all of us. And friends, it needs to be challenged. And it needs to be challenged not just by one group, in other words, Muslims challenging Muslim stereotypes and Christians challenging Christian stereotypes, and Jews or gays or Hispanics or African Americans or anybody challenging their stereotypes. But we need a coalition of people, as Dr. Mattson called, people of goodwill. People of goodwill committed to the common good, who'd say, we're not going to allow this stereotyping about anybody. It is the truth that sets us free, and we will challenge it. That's why I hope that we can, maybe even in this year, have some kind of coalition on stereotyping, where we say we're not going to allow this and we're going to challenge it when we see it in the media. But there's a second thing, and I think this is even greater. Not just do we need to show personal respect to each other, treat each other with love, treat each other with respect. You can disagree without being disagreeable. You can walk hand in hand without seeing eye to eye. You can have unity in America without uniformity. We don't need that. I don't know if you've discovered this, but God likes variety. Have you noticed this? God likes variety. He likes diversity. In fact, when God created, for instance, insects, beetles, did you know that He made over 60,000 kinds of beetles in the world? Now, you would have thought 300 or 400 varieties would have been enough. But God overloaded on variety and created that many. And there's not anybody like you in the world. You have a unique thumbprint, handprint, eye print, voice print. God made you to be you. When He made you, He broke the mold. Not only do we need to show respect and consideration for the dignity of everybody, the second thing we need to do together is we need to work together to restore civility to civilization. I'm sure you've noticed that the world is getting more rude. It's getting more impolite. It's getting more disrespectful. People talk at each other on television. They don't talk with each other. They talk about each other. They talk at each other. They don't talk with each other. And we need to restore here in America a rebirth of what I call the civil public square. The civil public square, where people of all beliefs can debate and discuss and, even disagree without demeaning or without debasing each other. And in a civil public square, people of all faiths are free to engage in what they do best, sharing their faith, sharing their ideas, where it depends on persuasion, not coercion, with each other.